Welcome to Two Floaties, One Wobbler, a monthly podcast for the North Carolina Melee scene. Each episode we discuss bracket upsets, players on the come-up, PR contenders, out-of-state travel, and much more. I'm Tyler Bass, aka Sharks, and I did not die in a hurricane this weekend.
I'm Graham, aka Hi-Fi, and I also did not die in a hurricane this weekend.
I'm Arun, aka Zent, and I also didn't die in a hurricane this weekend.
That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I'm really proud. You know, there's very few moments where I'm like, man, I wish I was. There's very few moments where I'm not like, man, I wish I was an NC right now, but this weekend was definitely one of them.
Yeah. It's basically for me, it's just been rain. That's
Also,
the worst it's got.
I love the new meme, which is like the map of the hurricane path, and whatever Durham is just like something you're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, the hurricane is me, and then Durham is like all my problems.
The thing too is that originally the hurricane was on course to like hit the triangle area, and people think that because of all the Facebook memes about the hurricane, it got memed out of that path and instead went around the triangle.
Wait, are you saying if you just spew memes at a hurricane, it changes paths?
Or do we actually change the course by blowing our fans at it the entire time?
Have you seen the Facebook events that like shoot bullets at Hurricane Florence to make it stop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like put your like the fans or something like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it all worked, I guess.
I guess that actually did work.
We're here. We're alive. Arun's alive. It all worked out.
Yeah, I was shooting bullets just like east from my house just to be safe.
That's good. Thanks for doing your part. All right, let's talk about local results.
Okay.
This is the local results segment. Here we recap tournaments that have happened since our last episode and discuss notable wins, upsets, almost upsets, and much more. We're going to start off talking about Geeks 60. This was an interesting tournament, not so much because of what happened in-game, but sort of out-of-game issues. This has been discussed to death within the community, so I'll just kind of summarize what happened. Tiger was set to play Save State in winners' quarters. Save State has recently started utilizing a tactic that was described to me as screaming like an excited chimpanzee in the middle of the set. I can't confirm or deny it actually sounds like that. But, you know, being distracting, I guess. Tiger didn't want to deal with that, so he DQ'd. He didn't DQ out of the tournament, though, just out of winners. So then in losers, Tiger plays Puff until running into Peyton, where they play Icy's Falco. Tiger wins. Then he plays Adonis. They Icy Ditto and then play Icy's Ganon. Tiger wins. And then Tiger plays Icy's Fox against Safe in losers finals and gets a PR win off that. Then 3-0's Money Mike's Fox / Falco. And then went 0-3 in the Grands reset against Mike's Falco. So the issue here was DQing in winners to avoid playing someone you don't want to play and possibly like a bad loss. And then continuing to play through losers with a supposedly more favorable bracket. You do have to win more sets to get to the same place in the tournament, but this was something that a lot of people had different opinions about, and again, it's kind of been discussed to death, so I just kind of wanted to see what the two of you thought about it. Since this incident, there has been a rule made that if you DQ out of winners but keep playing in losers, that your DQ counts as a loss, because, I mean, you can't prevent someone from just plugging in and not doing anything for 8 stocks, but the whole, like, strategic DQing thing probably undermines competitive integrity a little bit, so did you guys have anything to say about that, or any thoughts on kind of this sort of thing in general?
I mean, I think Tiger's take on it was she just didn't want to play a Link, and that's like taking the L was fine. It was just not wanting to play a Link. So I don't know. I guess it's just kind of functionally equivalent to picking a low tier and sandbagging for 8 stocks. I do think it's kind of weird to like try up until a certain point in the bracket and then effectively not like it's an intentional DQ. It's effectively, as you said, the equivalent of not trying. I do think it's kind of weird, just on the grounds of whoever you played before that, like they might have taken the opportunity to play this person, and you beat them, and now you're just kind of turning down this chance that they didn't have.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's something I've thought about as well. Is that the person you beat beforehand probably doesn't feel too happy about that.
Yeah, and there's also, as far as trying versus not trying, that's, I think, kind of impossible to judge in a lot of cases. A lot of people will say, oh, I don't care about my results, or oh, I wasn't really trying. But Tiger only played Puff in losers until losers quarters against Peyton. So there's kind of mixed signals there too about like, oh, I just didn't want to play a Link and kind of, or it wasn't going to be fun, was, I think, sort of the line that was given there, and then deciding, okay, well, now that I've made it far enough in bracket, I'm actually going to try and go my main. And again, there's, you can't stop people from sandbagging, but I think the issue here was the DQ in winners really not being a DQ, but being a forfeiture, which I think is a different thing than, like if you just DQ out of the whole bracket or whatever, or you're late to your round one or something. And it's really weird that, that would happen, and then Tiger was able to run it all the way back to the Grands reset. And very realistically could have won this tournament.
Yeah.
3-0ing Mike's, Fox, and Falco. I was talking to Tiger a bit about it, and Tiger said that Mike's Falco gave him a lot more trouble, but he was doing pretty well against the Fox. So if that switch doesn't happen, I don't know. That it would be really sort of. There's just a lot about that doesn't sit right with me. From like it.
It's one of those, like, it's totally within the rules. Like, you are totally allowed to show up to a tournament and pay $5 and just decide at some point to basically sandbag a set or not play a set. But it's kind of,
yeah, like I just can't see myself ever feeling like I don't want to play this person, so I'm literally not going to play them. Like, there's plenty of people in bracket I don't want to play because I feel like I'm going to lose, or I don't like the way they play or whatever, but like I paid $5 to enter this tournament. I'm there. I'm gonna sit down and do that.
I mean, I don't know if it's. I think the feeling of not wanting to play someone is very understandable. I've definitely gone Zelda Game 2 against people, and I was just like, okay, I'm kind of done with this bracket. Sometimes that's just like, yes, you paid $5, but sometimes you pay $5, think your bracket's gonna go one way, it goes a different way, you're disappointed. I think that's understandable. I think really the morally great thing here is kind of how it messes with the bracket if you make it so however far in winners and then intentionally tank down.
Right. And then kind of sort of not try in losers, but then really unambiguously start trying once it's at the point where it's people you would lose to with your secondaries, or, playing safe a potential PR win. So hopefully the new ruling will discourage this kind of thing, but I guess we'll see. There was sort of some pushback against that, and DQs in general as being there were people that expressed opinions that it should always count as a loss unless you can provide proof that it shouldn't, but there's, I don't know, it just feels like there's a lot of weird edge cases.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like the PR panel's job to just sift through a bunch of DQs and decide for each one, does it count, does it not.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with that. And it's not like this is a very common thing, right? I mean, there's a reason this rule wasn't put up until pretty much the past couple weeks.
Yeah, this was the first time I had seen something like this. I'm fairly new, but even in out-of-state brackets, I don't think I had ever come across this.
There are reasons you could do it. Like, there's legitimate bracket reasons to do this, but I don't think most people think about brackets that hard. Like, if you want to DQ into, because how when you play through bracket, you sort of alternate the side you're going to end up in on losers as you play each match.
Mm-hmm.
So that might mean there might be some really far-fetched situation where it's hypothetically it's good for you to lose your current match, because winning your current match and losing the next one puts you into like the worst side of losers bracket, quote unquote. But like again, these are all really far-fetched scenarios. You have to be trying really hard and care so much more about your placement than just about like playing the game for this to be something you'd even consider.
Exactly.
Right. So I don't think we'll see too much more of this, but it was kind of an interesting event for that reason. But other than that, like no real upsets or anything worth discussing. So we can move on to the next event.
Okay, so next up we had it's Revival of Melee 7, but is that actually 7 or is it 8? I can never remember.
Well, so the way I'm indexing these is the first one was ROM 0, and I also think
So
it's
this is-
Revival of Mondays. Not
Yeah,
Monday.
but you know what? It's their fault if they literally copied a major tournament name. Like, how do you expect people not to mess it up? But okay, sure. Revival of Monday 7. So Hassel got a win over Sidward on his birthday apparently, which I don't know. A win in Melee is not what I'd ask for on my birthday, but I guess you take it.
That's not a bad gift at all.
Yeah, it's it's a PR win.
And then Fatal beat Lamb for the second time this season, which we might talk about when we get to Arcadian stuff a bit. But maybe you guys told me a bit about Fatal because I've seen the name and I've like seen him in bracket, but I don't really know much about him.
Fatal is a newer player, Falcon main. Very is similar to Key in the sense that he has a very good punish game on Spacies and Marth, but his neutral is way different. Whereas Key is like kind of defensive. He's always just trying to like go in and hit you. And if this gives you any more context about how he sort of approaches the game, he practices Marth punishes on Spacies on FD, even though he doesn't play Marth and has never played Marth in tournament. He just likes doing that.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah, I like that too.
I kind of respect that, honestly.
So, yeah, we'll talk about him at the Arcadian segment.
Oh yeah, so good stuff to him. And then Jack, Jay Willie, beat Lamchi and Sid and got third, losing in GCS twice, despite not being seen that high. You know, everyone knows like Jack is good. He was obviously PR'd way back when, and he hasn't really. It's not like he got super bad since then. So it's not too surprising, but it's a bit out of pace, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure.
So good stuff to Jack, and then I guess in terms of how Grands went, winners and Grands, Tylenol 2-1 GCS and sets, which I guess we'll get to talking about the PR, but that maybe helped him cement his number 2 spot. So good stuff to him. But yeah, not too eventful a tournament besides Jack making a run. Yeah, unless you guys have something to say.
I don't think so. I think that covered it.
Yeah, y'all gotta watch out for Jay Willie now that he lives in Durham.
For real. He's getting practice
he's
every day.
Yeah, he's gonna probably not take singles super seriously, but just improvement by osmosis.
Yep. The next tournament we're going to look at is Geek 62, which was kind of a wacky little tournament because Mike entered as his Fox again. So we see a little bit of a repetition here at Geek 60. He went Fox Falco. Here he goes all Fox. We had a guest player from, I believe you said it was Virginia. Is that right, Graham?
Yeah, somewhere in Southern
Virginia, named Icy Mojo, who did 2-0 Mike's Fox, both in winners, and then in losers, he 2-1 Mike's Fox. So he double eliminated Mike's secondary, but did end up losing to Lamb twice. Lamb was kind of the IC Slayer because he double eliminated Icy Mojo, and then he also double eliminated Tiger in winners finals and grand finals. So that's.
I think Lamb lost winners finals and then won 2 sets.
Oh,
in
is
grands.
that? Oh no, I'm so sorry. You're right about that. I was looking at that incorrectly. Yeah, he took 2 sets in grands, lost 3-2 in winners finals. Yeah, exactly. And also speaking of ICs, Adonis did take losses to both Save State and Mojo, the new North Carolinian Mojo, not IC Mojo. As confusing as that is.
Yeah.
What's Mojo's full tag?
Mojo 8675309.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know what that was from until
What?
like, yesterday.
How do you not?
I don't know.
Aren't you the self-proclaimed music geek?
No, I don't have any music tattoos, so I'm not an expert on
Oh, right.
music
Sorry, you
related
only listen to
things.
songs that came out on like a certain 10-year frame, and otherwise everything's garbage.
That is really funny.
Sure. It's weird we have two mojos. And it must be weird being Icy Mojo where you like come to this local from out of state and the de facto best player in the state, you double eliminate him, but he plays all secondaries.
I wonder if like someone from South Carolina saw, or sorry, South Virginia saw this bracket and was like, "Oh shit, let's go!" Mojo took out NC's #1 twice.
I'm
Oh
sure.
yeah.
I'm sure someone did that. Maybe. I guess it
Mi-
depends on their community.
Mike did enter as an alternate tag, so maybe they
Oh,
couldn't
okay,
tell
that
who
actually
it
helps
was.
then. That's
But it's, can you imagine going to like, I don't know, you go to Georgia and you play Coble twice in bracket and he goes like Peach the entire time or something and you beat him twice. It's like, all right, well, that was cool, I guess.
Yeah, I think that tournament also was not super eventful, but I think that was pretty much all we wanted to say about that.
Yeah. Next up we have UNC 1.1, which probably one of the best tournaments we've had in a long time,
This
just in
was
terms of the overall experience.
This was one of the most well-run tournaments I can remember in NC.
also some very juicy bracket results.
Oh, yes.
I feel like this tournament by itself basically just had way more interesting results than like the past few months combined.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, because it was super stacked. It was like 6 out of the 8 PR players plus Mike and Kay on, and then the entire mid-level. Anyone who is anyone in NC attended this pretty much. So haven't had a tournament that talent dense in a long time either. But we're going to go through each pool at a time and then talk about top 16. So first we have pool A1, and Prometheus had a monster run here. First he beat Sidward, who was not PR'd at this point, but still former PR player. Then he 2-0's GCS in a matchup that, as far as I'm aware, is awful for Ganon. So that's pretty impressive. GCS, our second best Falcon. And then out of pools, but in the first round of bracket, he beat Sharks. It was best of 3. And Ganon Ices, a lot of mixed opinions about that. Some people think Ganon actually wins that.
It's a toughie. And honestly, he probably should have beat me the last time we played too. It's just one of those tough matchups that if you're not used to playing, it takes a second to adapt to it. And even then, I mean, he played the matchup really well. So
Yeah, he really did seem to like more or less know what he was doing against the character.
He does. I mean, it's tough because whenever he hits Nana, she's pretty much dead. Like almost every time.
Yeah. And it's really easy to like it kind of feels like all of his aerials split you up sort of if they hit at all anywhere at any point.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, Ganon's really heavy, it's hard to kill him without wobbling, etc. But that's a really good run. That's number 1 and number 4 on the new PR.
Yeah, he had a super good run.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like also it's especially good because before this tournament we all kind of knew he was pretty he was above average, but I don't think he really had any breakout. I'd say this tournament kind of launched him from he might be like top 16 at the Arcadian to he's now suddenly contending to win the thing, and if he keeps up these types of performances, he'll almost definitely get PR next season.
Oh, absolutely. Because it Eclipse he beat David, but I think it was a lot easier for people to write that off as like David is particularly bad against weird low tiers that he's not used to.
Yeah, and
And
also
it really
David,
showed in the set too.
and also David was like a little bit inactive before that, so it's always like, oh, David was just rusty. That's all that happened. But
Right. But the Sharks win was really impressive, of course, but also beating GCS I think is what really validates this tournament for him as not being like, oh, well, he just got one kind of fluke win. Like he, took out 2 really good players. So we'll be discussing more about him in the Arcadian segment. But for the rest of this pool, Sid beat Tahim in losers. Not a huge upset or anything, but that's kind of how hard this tournament was. That was like to get out of pools.
Yeah, Tahim
right?
did not make it out of pools, which gives you some information about this. And same with another Marth we're going to talk about soon as well.
And then Nimbus beat Kakame. Haven't seen too much from Nimbus lately, but he's a really good guy, so it's always cool to see him come out stuff. I don't know if Peyton played Ices or Falco, but that I would say that's definitely like an upset at this point. So that's the first pool.
All right. So oh my god, that was just one pool.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna be here for a while. So A2. So I guess Prometheus was like the big, like the really big run of the tournament. But I think another Cinderella story is Sam Reggie. He beat Tiger and Alex in pools. I think he's been having like a
Which Alex?
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep forgetting. Dash,
Yeah.
yes, there are too many Alexes in NC for that to be useful. So he beat Tiger and Dash, so both people who are currently PR'd. Yeah, I don't know. It's like he was having. So he was obviously PR'd before. I think since then he's had a little bit of a rough patch, but. And I remember before the tournament he was saying he saw Tiger in his pool. And I think he played Tiger in a few tournaments recently before UNC. So he was really like he saw his pool and he was kind of dreading going to. He was kind of dreading playing bracket out because he thought he was just going to lose to Tiger. So I think even just beating Tiger, he was already really happy, and then to beat Dash after that, like, I'm sure he must have felt great at the end of his run.
And this goes to show if you don't want to play someone because you think you might lose, you should just try anyway. You never know what can happen.
Thank you for that callback.
I wonder what you could be talking about.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, so Key beat Flare, not necessarily an upset per se, but still notable. Again, like as we get closer to the Arcadian, these sort of mid-level matches are more and more interesting because they kind of tell us what might be ahead.
The key saga too is him saying, "I hate Marth. Marth is stupid," and literally being positive on every single Marth in the state, like all 8 to 10 of them.
Yeah.
So this is just another, notch in the belt for him against the Marths.
And then Mojo 8675309 beat Tiger. So and that's just another example of like how stacked this tournament was, since Tiger didn't make it out of pools. And Mojo's a self-proclaimed Icy Slayer, apparently, but I think after he said that, he lost to a lot of Icies in locals, so it's still a pretty impressive result.
It's a PR win.
And then I guess this pool might have been cursed, because then Flare beat Dash, so it's 2 PR players in a pool, and neither of them made it out.
Yeah, that's rough.
I mean, to John for Alex a little bit, he did come from South Carolina. I can only imagine it's like I don't want to discredit Sam and Flare. They're both obviously great players. They deserve these wins. But traveling to South Carolina is tough. So I hope he can figure something out about like how to travel to NC tournaments and still keep his energy up, not feel tired as soon as he gets to the venue. Because we would like to see him come to more tournaments. Like we would like to keep him as a part of our scene, even if he move away.
For sure.
All right, so I guess on to the next pool.
Okay, the next pool is B1. The winners of that pool were safe until I know they made it out without too much trouble. Some of the interesting stuff that happened in that pool would be, well, first off would be Beef Tip over Lamb in winners quarters. Beef Tip did 2-1 Lamb. Beef Tip, if y'all didn't know, is back to Falco again officially. All Falco, thank goodness, I agree. And then he goes on to lose to Tylenol. So he plays IHOP Dan in losers to winner makes it out for top 16. And IHOP Dan and the rare NC Falco Ditto did beat him 2-0. So good on Dan. And then we had another Ditto in the losers, which would be Lamb versus Time Bones. Time Bones did lose to Safe. And Lamb had lost. Lamb had lost a Beef Tip, like we said earlier. But they played in losers, and Lamb did 2-0 him. So Colin and Time Bones and Beef Tip were also 2 good players who did not make it out of pools at this event.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing too uneventful there.
Yeah.
Moving on to the last pool, B2. Chi, who was the tournament organizer, lost to Darkheart and Twisty, which T.O. John's a real thing, but also kind of insane that to go 1-2, he lost to 2 pretty good mid-level players. He wasn't super upset about that though, because he was running around trying to make sure everything worked out and we got out of there on time. Also, we had Adonis beating Jay Willie and Darkheart. I think Jay Willie went Fox at this tournament. So he historically has been a Sheik main. He's been playing a lot more Fox lately, and I think it's not so much like he plays Fox for certain matchups. Like he just kind of decides the day of who he's feeling and kind of goes all Fox or all Sheik. I think this was an all Fox tournament. I'm not sure though. And then we had Zephyrs over Darkheart and Jay Willie as well. Zephyrs has been a bit inactive recently, but I guess now that school is starting up again, he's back at NC State. So someone else to kind of look out for at the Arcadian. And I believe that is it for pools. We can move on to top 16.
Oh boy. Okay, so top 16. So Safe had a really great winners run. He beat Tylenol and then Money Mike. I think this is his first win over Mike.
It has to be, and that set was awesome.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, his set against Tylenol and Mike they were both dominant. I would say he 2-0'd Tylenol and then 3-0'd Mike, and very few people in NC have Mike wins. Period, but I can't think of anyone that has 3-0'd him.
I think we can count the number of people who've beaten Mike and are still active on one hand, if that.
Right. So that was very impressive. Just very solid play all around.
So yeah, really good stuff to him. It's like a really good start to his season, basically. So Key beats Lamb for the match for 13th. Again, Key complaining about Martz and beating Martz. Not much new there. Zephyrs continues his run and beats Sid, and then I believe he ends up getting 9th overall. So again, especially
in a tournament like this, that's really good.
Yeah, 9th in this tournament is I don't know. I feel like everyone who got top 12 if you see the top 12 players at this tournament, top 12 seeds are all people who could easily win locals. So getting 9th here is really good.
For sure.
And then Twisty beats Sharks. I don't know, Tyler, do you have anything you want to talk about that set?
Sure. I'll go over a couple things. So we talked over the last couple podcasts about how it struggled with matchups with Falco at either different ECGs or out of state. And Twisty just really took advantage of it. He played really patient. He really played the platform game well. And he took advantage of the fact that I have a tough time not approaching in certain situations. And just punished me really hard. His punish game was on point. His neutral was on point just to really take advantage of what I struggle with. And overall, he just really outplayed me. He clutched it out. And it just really good props to him. I was impressed because I didn't think I was playing terrible or anything. A lot of times when sets like that happen, I can usually clutch it out. But he got the better of me that time. So that was really good.
Yeah, good stuff with Twisty. I feel like just generally recently he's improved a lot. There was always kind of some potential there, but I think it wasn't until the past few months that we've really seen it start to take form in the result of wins like this. So just another thing to look forward to at the Arcadian and see how he does. Maybe make $100 betting versus him on his own performance.
Yeah, he has a lot of money out on him winning the whole event. So some people like that. Some people just makes him more nervous. I think he's the type to thrive off it. So we'll see.
All right, and just to wrap things up, so Kaon beat Safe in winners finals, and then Mike won losers finals to get into grands, and then he reset set 1, I believe, game 5. I might be making that up, but then Kaon got the set 2 to win the entire tournament. So I guess.
And is this Kaon's first win over Mike as well?
I believe so. I think so. They played. Yeah, I think he did not beat Mike, as far as I know, while he was in NC. And then they played it at one of the Super Famicons, but he didn't win that time either. So I think that is his first win. I guess it's not as surprising as Safe beating Mike because he has been in New York, so he's gotten higher level practice than he had here. So it's not surprising that he would have grown a lot as a player in his time there. And also in particular, he had Smucker's experience. So
yeah. So Kaon wins the whole event. And this is a circuit, by the way. So all of the performances in singles and doubles carry on. There's a point system that I'm not entirely familiar with how it works, but you get points for placing, at each event. So Kaon, out in first place so far, but we have the next event, NCSU 1.2, October 20th, and this will be at NC State. So
I'm looking forward to it. If it's anything like the most recent one was, y'all, if y'all did not go, y'all should go.
absolutely. Funny story too about Kaon winning this tournament. He went to NC State
Oh
for
my
this.
word!
He
Yes.
thought it was at Tally, so he missed doubles and had to DQ out of that. But maybe for the next one he'll go to UNC accidentally. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how the rest of the circuit plays out, and I'm also really excited for the circuit finale because I know this is just the first tournament. Like, there's already so much crazy stuff going on. I can't even like begin to predict what the points leaderboard's going to look like at the end. And
Yeah,
Oh.
especially if we get this kind of attendance at each event.
yeah, and I think she also has some surprises planned for the last event that should be really fun and exciting for everyone. So,
Ooh.
but I guess we have one more tournament, Tyler, if you want to talk about it.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I almost forgot about this. We have ROM 8. So Revival of Melee. I'm just going to go over the quick highlights that we have. So Lamb and Prometheus did win doubles over Time Bones, IHOP Dan. So far that we can see the bracket's a little bit wonky. But yeah, they did beat them to win doubles, which is pretty cool. Is this the team that y'all said was static? Is that right? Have I heard that before?
Maybe. I think
don't think
they've been doing better lately. I know Lamb teamed with Noah for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's interesting because this is one of the few like entirely Arcadian doubles teams, and the side event at this upcoming Arcadian is Arcadian doubles. So I think they're the only team that has like won multiple locals. This is their second one now. So I don't know if they're static, but they're definitely teaming more lately.
That's cool. I like to hear that. And the other big story of this tournament, of course, would be Jay Willie, kind of like you said earlier. Jay Willie took out IHOP Dan, Time Bones, and Prometheus twice to win the tournament. So shout outs to Jay Willie. That's awesome. That's really cool to see.
He played all chic, seemed to have a lot of fun, and it was just a really good look. Some solid wins, especially with Prometheus skyrocketing up bracket after UNC.
Yep. He beat Roma. He beat Lamb. Then lost to Jay Willie both times. He beat Lamb twice. And speaking of Lamb, Lamb did beat Time Bones again in loser semis. I think the last thing we have here is that
there's a new Charlotte local.
Yeah, there is a new Charlotte local. What was it? What does that stand for again? I
think it's called Your Local Game Store.
That's it. Your local game store. Thank you. Kind of a smaller tournament. The only big thing to note is that Tiger did time out Adonis with Puff against Ices, and then Adonis DQ'd out of the tournament actually after that.
So this is really funny to me because there was a period of time where Adonis did not want to play the Icy Ditto and was convinced that he could just play Puff and time out Ices and that this was optimal and that this was viable. And he sent me videos of him timing Tiger out in friendlies to prove that, like, hey, this is good. You should consider doing this. Oddly enough, it seems like this topic comes up a lot on this podcast about Ices timing out Puff, Puff timing out Ices. I still don't think it's optimal, but just insane amounts of irony here.
Yeah, there was a lot.
It gets turned around on him by the person that he was doing it to test it out. And yeah, he DQ'd out. That's got to be really frustrating, I imagine. I don't know if he got timed out multiple times or if he just like quit out of the winner's final set. I heard a couple different things about that. But yeah, I don't know. I think again, I don't think Puff timing out Ices is like optimal. I mean, it's sort of viable, but I do think there's a lot of counterplay to it.
Maybe. We'll see as time goes on.
Yeah, I think really what has to happen is like now that all the Ices have lost to Michael doing this,
Yeah,
now they have some incentive to like figure it out and
exactly.
try
That's
to beat
true.
it. Because before it was sort of just this like I don't know, almost this like fabled thing that no one was actually doing and committing to. But now it's very real. So, um, I guess we'll see.
Honestly, just the whole like watching the Ices mains figure out a meta for playing against each other and also for playing versus Peaches is. I feel bad saying amusing, but it is amusing.
Oh no, I agree. It
It's
is
very
pretty
amusing.
amusing.
It's very amusing.
I think that's it for the local results segment. Is there anything else that we wanted to go over before we go to the next segment?
I just wanted to briefly talk about the new PR. There's not
Yes.
too much to say about it, but just to sort of officially, announce that we have a new PR. This was a weird season because we had some inactivity. Zasa didn't attend a single tournament and has said that he is switching to Fox, primarily because I think he doesn't want to take the game as seriously and just kind of has more fun playing Fox. So I don't know how much he's going to attend moving forward in general, but he fell off. Mike did not enter any locals as Falcon. He only entered those two geeks playing secondaries. And then we had Kaon move here. So what we decided to do was have a PR that was 8 people long, and then the other 2 spots are kind of like Mike and Kaon are the de facto 1 and 2 because they're top 100 players, and it's got to count for something. So to go down the PR, we have Sharks at number 1. This is your first time, or this is the highest you've ever been ranked, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he hasn't ever been ranked 0. Is basically what you're saying.
I mean, it's like it's no different than when it was in the past, though, to be honest. So, because I mean, the only person was Mike, and he wasn't on there, so by default, it's pretty much the same.
Right. But still,
though I will claim the curse of the number 1 spot did occur at the first tournament after that. So hopefully it only goes up from there.
I'm sure it will. At number 2, we had Tylenol. At number 3, we had Safe, and at number 4, we had GCS. And between 2, 3, and 4, is extremely close. Like that ordering really came down to single sets between either the 3 of them, or like Safe had a slightly worse bad loss than Tylenol did, and they both had like 1. So really that could have shook out any way. I'd say those 3 players are kind of all in a tier right below Sharks, capable of beating each other. After that, we had me at 5. Then we had Dash at 6, and we kept Dash on because he said he wasn't going to compete in South Carolina, but would go to NC tournaments. So we figured, functionally he can be on the NCPR. That's fine. 7, we had David. And then at 8, we had Tiger back on. Tiger had been PR'd before, but had been off for a few seasons. And yeah, that rounds it out. Doesn't change anything for the Arcadian. And in case anyone is concerned, we are aware as a panel that it's been sort of hard for mid-level players to get PR wins like they did in the past. So getting PR'd is like a holistic evaluation of your resume. It's not just like, oh, well, how many PR wins did you get? Because we understand that this is a pretty strong PR for the most part. Yes, a lot of people drop sets at UNC, but I don't think that's going to be the norm necessarily. So if you're a mid-level player and you're freaking out about, well, I'm never going to get PR'd now because the goal's just moving further and further away, the list is getting shorter, etc., just know that if you distinguish yourself as being better than the rest of the mid-level, that will count for something. A lot of the reason that we didn't see any new faces this time around is because the mid-level just absolutely slaughtered each other.
Yeah.
Which will make for a really good Arcadian, but it is kind of unfortunate for people gunning for the PR because it's just like really, really difficult to pull away from the rest of the pack. But it is a good sign that NC is pretty competitive right now. So there's pros and cons to that, I guess. We're, I guess, like 2 or 3 tournaments into the season. So this dropped right before UNC. So tons of time left. If you don't like the list, go out and change it.
Well, I guess we'll move on to the next segment.
All right, sounds good. This is the random discussion segment. Here we delve into topics relevant to the North Carolina Melee scene. Last episode we talked about Super Smash Con, but this time we're going to discuss the 5th NC Melee Arcadian. We have Hassel Duck Cooper on as a guest to talk about the Arcadian with us. Hassel, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
So we're going to discuss the 1 seeds in some detail, but first I wanted to ask you about just sort of generally what you're doing to prepare, how you're feeling about the event, and just sort of what you're thinking about going into it.
Yeah, so I started going into the event. I kind of had like a big mentality change like a couple months ago, I guess. That's what I would say. And so I wanted to focus on very specific parts of my gameplay. So there's been like 2 or 3 things that I've been particularly working on in general. One of those being like just execution and solo practicing more, and also just general gameplay changes, like focusing on not attacking out of the corner, or like trying to remind myself of those kind of stuff in game. Just small stuff that'll like help in a lot of matchups rather than like focusing on just the Mars or focusing on just the Ices or whatever.
Yeah, those are also good things that will serve you beyond just this event. But speaking of characters, what do you feel like are your better character matchups or your weaker character matchups going into this event?
So I feel like the character matchups I'm the best at, I probably won't even play at the Arcadian, which is whatever, but I will play more than likely some combination of Marth, Ices, or Falco or Fox. I actually think there's a decent amount of Spacies going, which I feel like I'm pretty decent at. It just like, as far as like the Fox or Falco matchup, it just kind of depends on the day. But I've been working really hard on the Marth matchup in particular, and just kind of like refining what. I mean, every Spacie has problems with Marth, so I've just been trying to get as good as I can at that matchup while I still can.
Yeah, that makes sense. And sort of statistically speaking, Marth is probably the matchup to prepare most for. Do you, I guess the last question I'd have for you is like, how do you feel about, so it's good that you've had like some recent mentality changes. Is there anything you're specifically trying to do on like the day of the tournament to make sure that you're in like the best headspace possible going into it, and that all your preparation sort of coalesces into, you know, meaningful results?
I mean, as far as mentality changes, like in terms of what I'll be doing at the event, really it's just like reminding myself that like I need to respect certain players, like regardless of how they play or like what character they play or whatever, and just kind of just taking every match as it comes and not trying to worry about like what happens if I lose to this guy, or what happened, like, oh my gosh, I'm about to beat this guy who's slated for top 8 or whatever, and just trying to take it as it comes, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, cool. So, I guess let's get into talking about the top 8 seeds. So, the pools and bracket and stuff haven't been finalized, but I think we can pretty confidently say these are going to be the top 8, or like all the 1 seeds if there are 8 pools. Just sort of based on rankings and who's registered right now. And at the time of this recording, the registration deadline is 48 hours away. So might get some stragglers, but as far as like sort of top mid-level players in NC, I think this is pretty much the list. So Arun, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, so I guess let's go and just tell people the list so they have some context. So just in alphabetical order, the 8 we're talking about are Adonis, Chi, Flare, Key, Lamb, Pelipper, Prometheus, and Twisty. So let's just go down the top. So we'll start with Adonis. Adonis has, I don't know, I think he has good records against a lot of the other 1 seeds. He has not dropped a set to Flare, Key, Prometheus, or Twisty, and he has set wins over all of them. but I think these are all from a while ago. So I think recently he's been just focusing more on net play and attending like Charlotte tournaments rather than branching out. So it's kind of hard to tell if this is something that's still true, if he still has good head-to-heads against most of his competitors. He's also been dropping a lot of sets recently that I don't think are like they're kind of worrisome if you're an Adonis fan. So he dropped sets to Raiko and Save State and Asheville tournaments, and he also dropped a set
I
to.
think those were secondaries though.
Were those secondaries? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can never tell,
Right. I'm pretty sure the Raiko one was. I'm not sure about Save State, but I
Okay, I
remember
believe
that
it. I mean,
tournament.
I believe they could be second. Yeah, I would take your word for it. I would 100% believe that. He lost to Mojo a bunch of numbers, which we talked about this a bit earlier. Like he's supposedly a nicey slayer, but I don't know how much truth it actually has. Yeah, I don't know. I guess my thoughts on Arcadian, Adonis's Arcadian chances are sort of. He definitely has to dodge Pelipper, because he's never taken a set off Pelipper, and Pelipper gets lots of Ices experience, or had a lot of Ices experience at Geeks Weeklies. Other than that, there's not really anyone I can't see him beating, but I think just recently because he's been so inactive, it's also totally feasible to me that he doesn't go super far. It's just really hard to tell given his lack of a recent attendance outside of Charlotte.
Yeah, it seems like his, one clear weakness is Icy's Peach, so he has to dodge Pelipper. But it seems like he can beat anyone else and is just kind of like very day to day. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he got to winners finals, and I also wouldn't be surprised if he kind of got upset in pools and then lost to someone quote unquote random in the loser side of top 24. I'm not really sure what determines these ups and downs, but he has the potential to do really well at this event if he kind of just like wins the sets he's supposed to win and dodges Pelipper, which we'll see if that happens. I don't know if there's much else to say about him.
I mean, I just feel like it's a day-to-day thing with him. Like, depending on the bracket and, like, how he feels that day, I mean, it can totally change whether we see him in, winning the tournament or, like, not even in top 8.
Yeah, he definitely has the talent to do well, but he's a bit of a tilter, I feel. Like, there have been just a lot of recent tournaments where he's, we talked about him getting timed out by Tiger and then DQing. I think there was one other tournament recently that he like DQ'd out of losers. I'm not sure though, but if he kind of keeps it together mentally, I think he can beat anyone except Pelipper.
All right, so I guess let's go on to the next contender. Graham, you want to talk about Chi for us a little bit?
Sure. So with Chi, I don't know if I'd say the odds-on favorite to win the event, but definitely top 2 or top 3. Has a bit of an Ices problem. So he is 2-2 against Adonis lifetime, but I think some of those sets that he won were from like before Adonis kind of got better. And he's taken losses to Ryuta, Save States, Ices, Kakame twice at Death of Geeks. So that's kind of his one issue, and then he can also sort of get in his own head if there's like too much expectation on him to do well. But really, he's kind of the most solid all-around player here. Like he does really well against Marth. That's one of his 2 best matchups, the other one being Peach. So if he runs into Pelipper I think really has to worry about him. He's pretty confident against Key and Prometheus as well. So these sort of more niche matchups. He is 0-1 lifetime against Flare, but I feel like that's not lifetime. That's just like recently. I think he can definitely beat Flare. Yeah, I would say that it's not even like he has to dodge Ices. I know he's been working on that matchup, so he just has to make sure that he doesn't get caught off guard by the things that were making him lose sets recently there. But then otherwise, I think his best case scenario is he just plays solidly, and I would not be surprised at all if he, makes it to winners finals, wins the tournament. I would be very surprised if he doesn't top 8.
Yeah, I feel like Chi is one of the most solid choices for like a top 8 contender, because a lot of these like top 8 contenders will, have the opportunity to probably like get upset in pools or something like that. Or I feel like that we would never see that with Chi, unless like he has to play an Ices and like a good Ices in his pool. Then I don't think we're gonna see him outside of top 8.
Yeah, I feel like the way he's seated, like maybe he would have to play Ryuta. I'm not sure, but like he will dodge Adonis and Kakame for sure until like winner's side of bracket. And yeah, I think like NC is generally pretty bad against Sheik as well. We don't have a lot of Sheiks, but especially the way Chi plays when he's like playing well isn't really something that a lot of the mid level knows how to beat for the most part, mostly because of inexperience. But yeah, he's just got to not lose to Ices and kind of keep his head on straight, I think.
I think also like last Arcadian, she kind of showed us that if he has the discipline to and will structure his practice for the Arcadian, so that like him at the Arcadian will actually look a lot nicer and cleaner than him at just every other local, which is usually the opposite of what we see in Arcadian performances.
Yeah, for sure. Which, speaking of that, actually, Tyler, do you want to talk about our next player?
Yeah. So Flair is the next person I want to talk about. This is probably a person that a lot of people wouldn't want to see in bracket. Very solid player, very consistent player, I felt like. He really can take down pretty much anyone. The only person, he's only a couple people. Okay, I'll put it this way: the only person that he has played more than once that he hasn't beaten is Key. He is 0-2 against Key. He's 1-3 against Pelipper, but he has beaten Pelipper. He has not beaten Prometheus or Adonis. But those are only 0-1. So, he could easily have. I don't think it would not be surprising for him to be either one of those. The biggest one he has to avoid is Key for sure. That's going to be really tough for him. But honestly, this is one of the guys that could make a good run that I don't think a lot of people talk about all the time. Like, it's kind of hard to see him seeing him winning maybe, but he's definitely going to be a big obstacle for a lot of players to get through.
I think that's a good way to put it. And I think the reason a lot of people don't see him winning is Flair's biggest weakness is probably nerves. I believe he drowned in pools at the last Arcadian. And definitely anytime there's a tournament where there's like some amount of pressure on him specifically to perform, I don't think he does very well with that. So I don't know if that's going to change this time around. And he's also like pretty bad against Falcon. He's lost to Captain Planet multiple times, at least once recently. And then of course 0-2 versus Key. So not like the worst matchup to have to dodge given the character spread at this tournament, but that is concerning. And really good against Spaceys, but unfortunately we don't have a ton of. I mean, we have like a bunch of kind of 2-seed-ish Spaceys. I mean, we have Twisty here, we have Beef Tip, IHOP Dan, Simon, Hassel. So I think what you said about him being an obstacle for a lot of players is very accurate. Like he's going to end a lot of the hopes of sort of lower seeded players, but I think he's going to have a really tough time like winning the event or maybe even like getting to top 8 and then beating some of the other 1 seeds as these lifetime records kind of indicate.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for him then. On to the next one.
Arun.
That was me. Sorry, I thought it went back to you. Yeah. So next is Key. So everyone kind of knows Key is the Marth killer, basically. Complains about Marths. He had that one revival of Melee where he swept like 6 Marths in a row to get second, I want to say. He's 2-0 versus Flare, 3-1 versus Lamb, so that's really not going to be a problem. We don't know how he's against a lot of other characters, however. He's never played Pelipper. I guess there's lots of people who we have no idea how they're going to do against Prometheus, but he's one of them. He does have losses to Adonis and Chi. I think like he's one of those people who, if he gets the right bracket, I think he'll just kind of tear through it, obviously, because he has one matchup he's really good at, that being Marth. I think he's also, I don't know, you watch him play, he's someone who kind of goes for these like random reads in neutral that let him take away games that aren't really his to begin with. So I think he has some potential to upset these people who you would otherwise expect to do better than him. So while I wouldn't like put him on the top of my list for people who are going to do well at this tournament, I would kind of not be too surprised to see him upset a few of these people in brackets.
Yeah, he strikes me as someone that has like really, really high upside in terms of if he gets a good bracket, he can tear through it. I'd be interested to see how he does against Pelipper, because I'm not really sure how good Pelipper is against Falcon in general anyway, and that's a matchup that, much like Marth Falcon, both characters can punish the crap out of each other, and it's very susceptible to momentum swings, I guess. But I could also, like, he is fairly inexperienced. He doesn't attend a lot, and he doesn't really have, like, a solid game plan against characters that he's not really used to fighting. Obviously, he has a really good punish game on Spacies, does very well against Marth, but Sheik and Ices are kind of huge question marks, as well as Ganon. I mean, yes, Falcon is supposed to beat Ganon, but if you don't know what you're doing, Prometheus beat GCS, so it's definitely possible. I don't know. I think his run is really going to depend a lot on his bracket. I think if he gets really deep, it will be because he kind of just got a bunch of Marths or maybe some of the Spacies. But I could also see him running into something or someone that he's not really expecting and kind of going out a bit early. So it'll depend a lot kind of on his draw.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what his exact record is versus the Spacies, but I feel like he could easily lose to a lot of them, actually. I know he's lost to me before. I want to say he's lost to Twisty, and I know he's lost to Beef Tip as well. And I feel like a lot of like the better Spacey players could get like a hold of him just because the style of Falcon he plays can sometimes make it really hard in the Spacies matchup in particular.
I think he's also lost to IHOP Dan. I don't know if he's played Spencer or not.
I feel like he probably hasn't played Spencer, just knowing that both of those players almost never go to tournaments. But
Yeah.
Very true.
I know that he kind of has a little bit of a Spacey prong. I mean, as much as any Falcon probably would, but I feel like he could possibly get upset by them. But if he gets a good bracket, we could see him go really far.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Do you feel like his mentality is good generally? Like, despite from what I've seen, despite his inexperience, he'll still like very easily be able to laugh off when silly things happen to him in game. But I don't know how much of that is like he's actually laughing it off versus like that's just his attempt to.
Yeah, that's the thing. I can't tell like if his mentality is actually good or not, but I do know he doesn't seem to get tilted. So that's at least something where you can be like, all right, this person isn't going to self-destruct because of whatever, getting wobbled or getting F smashed at the ledge. I don't know. But yeah, he does kind of have that, like, he laughs it off, but you can't tell if it's like a darkness laugh or not. So
Like the plop laugh.
right, yeah.
Mhm.
So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I think it like it's good at least in this kind of an event to not be the kind of person that once you get like tilted, there's no coming back from it. And you kind of just spiral down into beating yourself. I definitely don't think he's one of those players. So
Yeah, I would say he has one of the better mentalities of most of the Arcadians, just because like a lot of the top 8 contender Arcadians actually have a pretty questionable mentality, except for like maybe Prometheus, I guess, would be the shining example among the Arcadians.
well, he's weird too. I mean, we'll talk about him in a second, but he was upset at how he did at UNC.
Yeah,
like
but that's
he-
like a good mentality thing rather than something that's going to be counterproductive.
Maybe.
I mean, I feel like it's very reminiscent of the Tylenol circa Arcadian 3.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm a big fan of like, you need to set realistic goals for yourself in this game and kind of in life in general. And just being like, I'm going to be the best in the world is kind of not really doing yourself any favors. And Prometheus was upset that like he didn't get enough PR wins at UNC, which is, when you say it like that is insane, right? You beat the number 1 and the number 4. Most of the state can't do that. But he was mad that he lost to Tylenol. He's like,
Yeah. I
So
mean, I feel like it's a little bit different than Tylenol's way of viewing it, where like Tylenol sees himself as I have to be the best in the world, and like I just see the way Prometheus looks at the game as like very hungry to like do better and do more. And like the second he lost, he just wants to keep getting PR wins and doing better.
That's fair. He is hungry is a good word to describe him. He definitely wants to improve and like keep doing better, not as like an end necessarily, but because I think he values the process. It's the student athlete thing. But yeah, anything else to say about Key?
No, not really.
All right, so on to Lamb. So Lamb, in contrast to these other players, Lamb goes to every tournament. He has so much data, and as a result, he has negative records against everyone except Twisty, who he is 3-0 against recently. He does have a win on Chi, a win on Flare, a win on Key, and is down 3-6 against Pelipper. They played a lot at Geeks this summer. So he at least has the capability to take sets, but he has some concerning losses in like that he's lost a Fatal twice this season, and I think that's a matchup issue because the skill gap there should be big enough that in a matchup like Marth Falcon, he should just win that, but I don't know. I didn't see those sets. He also lost to Sway, Beef Tip, and Duck. So I'm not really sure. He's very much like a punisher, likes punish game, doesn't really want to wait you out in neutral, will kind of just swing at you. And that can be really good in tense situations where people are trying to play defensive, but they're really kind of just picking like weak, scared defensive options. You know, like having a really solid punish game will just eat that up. But then at the same time, the statistics are very much not in his favor as far as like beating the people above him, as well as possibly getting upset by people seated below him in his pool. So I would say he's high variance.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we were saying with Adonis, right? Just depending on how he's playing that one day, it could make a huge difference in his performance, or in his bracket results, rather.
Yeah, I kind of view Lamb as like a Gato plus. And I think that he will do well for the vast swath of people, but like has a decent chance of getting upset by someone that's willing to wait him out or is just playing well that day.
Yeah, waiting him out, I think, is going to be crucial, as well as recognizing like forcing him to play neutral. So I think when people think about waiting, sometimes they think that means do nothing in the corner, but like he definitely has things that he will like favor when he's playing like fair towards you, or just like auto cancel Nair 3 or 4 times in a row. So like habit kind of stuff. I think if someone, and it's hard at this level for sure, but I think if someone can really pick up on that and start exploiting it, he definitely has a hard time like realizing that his neutral options are not getting him what he wants, and can definitely succumb to that, well, I just need to do this better, even if it's like the wrong option. But if no one does that, I could see him kind of just running over his pool, and then depending on his draw in top 24, doing really well. Pelipper is like doesn't have like a ton of data against a lot of the top 8, but has a lot of sets against Lamb, and Lamb has shown that he can beat Pelipper, which I think could be a really important asset for someone trying to win the tournament, just because it seems hard for a lot of other, like Pelipper is very solid and consistent. So I guess it'll depend on bracket. I don't know.
Well, I guess we should talk about Pelipper next.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say this. Y'all, you're talking about high variance. I think this is probably the most high variance player that we have.
Really?
Well, as much as like a wild card, like he could do anything. This man, I feel like, could either win the tournament or drown in pools. Like I'm not joking about that. I think Pelipper could, anything could happen with him at this tournament. I was speaking to Absalom about this, and I've heard other Charlotte players say this as well. he puts a lot of pressure on himself. Like they were telling me stories about like the last Arcadian, just the kind of ways he was preparing for it, and his mindset going into it, and it's just he's probably going to be a little bit nervous going into it, to be quite honest. But he also has one of the best records against the rest of the top 8 that we have here. He's 2-1 on Adonis. So of course, like he's got the IC matchup. I think he'll be fine against any of the ICs. I don't think he'll have too much trouble with that. He's 3-1 on Flare. He's 6-3 on Lamb. He's beaten Prometheus and Twisty. The only person here that he's really had a lot of trouble with is Chi, who he's 0-2 against. I wouldn't be surprised if Key also gave him some trouble. But he's really positive on just about everybody. Of course, Peach is a really good Arcadian character as well. But, we're never going to see which kind of developer is going to show up that day. We'll never know until it happens.
That's true. He's extremely consistent as a player, but I do agree with you that if he gets in his own head, he could drown in pools.
Yep.
And he's going to be one of the top 3 seeds, I think, just based on how his results have been. So that's probably going to be a negative for him, unfortunately, if he, stresses himself out about being the favorite.
Yeah.
But it is a really good sign that he's very positive on the best Marths because, I'm sure Arun could go on for hours about how rough that can be at times.
Yeah.
And then Icy's matchup on Locke. Falcon is kind of a question mark. And then I don't really know how he does against Spaceys, honestly.
He's taken sets off of safe before, which is pretty hard given it's safe.
Wait, when did he beat safe?
He beat him in some grand finals at Geeks. I don't know if it was he won the entire tournament over safe, but he's definitely taken sets off of safe at Geeks.
Oh wow!
If nothing else, is like punish against Space. He's really good. He does all the the Armada tactics like reverse Baron to Nair, things that boring Peaches like me can't do.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's just going to depend on how centered he is the day of, but he's definitely he has to dodge Chi really, which if that's who he's trying to dodge, then he'll get to winners finals through everybody else.
Yeah, I feel like I generally agree with Sharks where I feel like he has the potential to do really well. Personally, I think he's going to get in his own head just because that's what we've seen from him before. But, he can do well. He can beat pretty much anyone that's going to the Arcadian. So he has a strong chance of winning on paper. But a lot of times he just gets in his own head and doesn't do as well as we expect of him, I guess.
Yeah, I guess not too much else to say there.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to watch out for. That's for sure.
For sure.
And on to the next one.
Yeah, so Prometheus is sort of like, I don't know how to describe his chances. It feels like he's a wild card, except he's in expectation he's going to do really well, right? We saw it at UNC, beat GCS and Sharks. He's beaten David before. So just in terms of his PR win resume, he just outblows everyone else in this tournament out of the water. That being said, it's still, as he showed us at UNC, he's really good. It's kind of hard to tell how he'll do at the Arcadian. Again, we expect him to do really well. And if he plays like he did at UNC, he'll probably win the whole thing. But we don't really know how he does against certain characters. And I'm also one thing I think might happen, and again, I don't know how much people study for matchups when it comes to the Arcadian, but I feel like if people see Prometheus and realize Prometheus is a threat, I need to be ready to run to this guy in bracket, they might start studying the GAN matchup, because that's something you'd otherwise don't really see in NC.
Yeah, it's interesting because at Arcadian 4, there was definitely aspects of this with SS Bane where people just didn't understand how to edge guard Luigi, and so he got away with so many recoveries that should have had him killed, and then he has a good enough punish game once he gets back on stage that takes a stock he shouldn't take, and it kind of snowballs. And I think Prometheus is very similar in the sense that he has a very good punish game. His neutral is not particularly varied and mix-up heavy, but it's tight Like, he doesn't really do bad things in neutral. He kind of just does the same 2 or 3 good options, which at this level of play is really good. I think people do need to study the Ganon matchup, not super intensely, but that is something I would say to anyone at this event trying to do well, is like, you need to have a basic understanding of how your character edge guards Ganon, because like Luigi, Ganon has a bad recovery. Like, that's just kind of how it is. But if you don't understand what his options are and why it's bad, and you're trying to figure out on the fly like how to deal with him down being over there or whatever, then it's really going to be bad. So just watch like 1 or 2 VODs of your character versus, Kage or Bizarro Flame or whatever, and have some rough idea of what you want to be doing, because it's especially Ganon might be one of the worst characters to have to figure out on the fly while you're playing him, just because of how hard he punishes mistakes and how hard he hits in general. But accepting that, I think Prometheus is really consistent in that he doesn't really have bad losses, but the people he can't beat, it's not like, oh, he just needs to play better, or it's like an off day or whatever. Like, if he can't beat someone, I don't think he will just will his way to beating them.
Yeah, it's like he's played Adonis, Chi, Pelipper, and he's 0-1 against all of them. I mean, again, it's 0-1, so it's not really saying much, but like, it's not going to be surprising if he runs into one of these 3 and loses. Like, that's kind of almost the expected outcome in some ways.
Yeah. So yeah, study the Ganon matchup just a little bit. And then last, and probably least, unfortunately, we have Twisty. So Twisty, the highest variance player here, just because Twisty has very high highs. He beat me, he beat Sharks. He has a Sid win recently. And when he's playing well, he really does look like a very good spacey. Like, I think his execution is kind of underrated, honestly. Like, he has really good shield pressure, really good movement, pretty good punishes. It's just when he doesn't play well, or gets in his own head, or gets tilted or whatever, he loses to Hot Mom, Ryuta, Zeph. I think at the last Arcadian, he lost to Cold. He's definitely a bit better since then, but that's just kind of giving you an idea of his ceiling and his floor. He's getting this last 1 seed because CMAC is not entering. So otherwise, that's who we would be talking about. So probably like easily the shakiest person on this list. But if he doesn't SD, and if he doesn't get upset, and if he's executing well, I think he could beat anyone at this tournament, actually. Like, there isn't anyone I could see him just definitely losing to if he's on, but him being on is like 20-25% chance at best, I think.
Yeah, I think also, like, if you're a spacey main, the fact that there are just so many Marth mains in this bracket is really scary to you.
Oh, for sure. And that's the kind of thing that would tilt him, as if, he gets chain grabbed into death. He's like on stock 1. That might be the end of that game if he just kind of implodes after that. Also, him and Pelipper, I don't know. I mean, apparently Lifetime, or not Lifetime, but recently he's 0-2 against Pelipper. I know he hates the Peach matchup, but I do think he's like good enough. Not like he just can't beat Peach. I think it's like a tilt thing. Like, he doesn't like getting down smashed,
He played Waylon at a Hornet's Nest like a while ago, and he won. And it wasn't like it looked really scary to play him. When he played, I'm pretty sure I only won because I pulled a Stitch game 1. Otherwise, he probably would have, like, I don't know, had my back against the wall very easily.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just going to come down to how well he plays.
Twisty and Prometheus were going to be my most like underrated players going into the Arcadian before UNG, and they really showed up at that. So I think they both can do really, really well. I mean, personally, I think I wouldn't be surprised if like Prometheus won and Twisty got top 3. But yeah, I don't know. I think both of them can do well. I think Twisty's really good. He just gets in his own head, and if he gets a certain bracket that tilts him or makes him mad, there's a good chance he doesn't even make it out of pools. But we'll just have to see.
Also, he has something that no one else on this list really has, which is he's kind of a dual main. He plays mostly Falco, but will play Fox, not even for like specific matchups, but just if he's like, I can't win as Falco right now, he'll switch it up. So this can be good, but this can also be really tough because switching mid-set can really mess up your execution. So I don't even know what I like optimally what we want to see from him in that regard. But that is just like another dynamic that the other players don't really have to worry about. Other than Adonis maybe playing Falcon against Pelipper, maybe no one else on that list is really going to play secondaries at any point. But yeah, that's a good call on Twisty and Prometheus for you and she. And then I guess to wrap this up, so we talked about the 1 seeds. Do you guys have any dark horse picks or anyone that was not on this list that you think would do well? And just for context, CMAC will not be entering. Vianney and SS Bane are not registered at the time of this recording, and I had talked to Vianney and he said he was going, but historically unreliable in that regard. So let's ignore those 3, I guess. Is there anyone not on this list that you think could do really well?
So the other 2 people that I think can do really well is one Meat, just because I think he has a really good mentality for the game and has actually been improving a lot. Like in the past like couple months or so, I think he's gotten a lot better, and like we've seen him come close versus certain people like Vianney, for example, where like he could have won or it was really close or just whatever. And also Blue 53 has done really well recently and has done well at Arcadians before.
Yes, right.
Yep. And he beat Cat's Ices. And someone that's really good at the Ices matchup. I kind of get the feeling that a lot of our Ices are preying on the Arcadian nerves, kind of. And if Blue can come in
for
and,
sure.
Play one of them early, we could see one of them getting knocked out early. But also on top of that, since we didn't talk about him, Ryuta is also a very good ICs.
That was my pick.
I could totally see him in top 8 or like even in top 3, honestly, if he gets a good bracket.
I'm actually calling Rita for top 8 at this tournament.
He could definitely do it. His seeding, Ryuta's a weird case because he hasn't attended a lot, and a lot of his good wins have come out of state, which aren't reflected on bracket. Like he has a Knicks win from Clash.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when he goes to South Carolina, he tends to beat all of their players, actually. Like, I think he has wins on almost the entire PR.
That's nuts.
So he's definitely kind of in that tier of, if he made top 8, I wouldn't be surprised, but that's why he's not on this list. It's mostly inactivity as well as his big wins coming against out-of-state players.
Yeah, and like also at Clash, he beat Colin right before playing Nyx, who's pretty good at the ICs matchup. So he obviously has some ability to beat the Morse, which will be good for him at this Arcadian. And I don't know, I think he could do really well, depending on how his bracket goes.
Okay. Arun, what about you?
I don't know. I feel like they covered all the good ones. I should have spoken up so I could have taken one of them. I don't know. It's like it's an Arcadian. I feel like of the top 8, like if 2 of them of the people we just talked about, if 2 of them make top 8, I wouldn't be surprised. Like if only 2 of them made top 8, I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, like CAC, I feel like we didn't talk about him, but I feel like he's not really that far below the people we talked about. This is kind of a cop-out answer because I'm sure he's a high 2 seed, but I think in particular he showed at like Death of Geeks that he can definitely win several sets against people who are like at his level or on paper better than him in a row. So at least to me, he's had some low lows, but I think that at least tells me like he can do well in this high pressure environment if he needs to.
Yeah,
I think for Arcadians, how you handle just like everyone's going to pay attention to this tournament. Everyone's going to remember if you do well. Everyone's going to remember if you do poorly. Like how you handle that really factors into it. Maybe more than it should, but.
Yeah, and Kakame was like the 9th player that would have been on this list. So, if not for Twisty's recent performance at UNC, we would be talking about him instead. So,
I can make my hard read is that Hassel and Simon are going to win dubs. It's not really a hard read, but
they're not entering
Yeah,
dubs.
What?
We're actually not
Oh,
entering
no.
doubles. I just want to focus on singles for this event because
okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I
That was a
feel like-
bad.
Well, because if they enter doubles, it's too free for them.
Oh yeah,
That's
no.
not what I
One
would
person
say,
can-
but I feel like I've already kind of centered that I'm better than most of the other Arcadians doubles, so it doesn't really mean anything to me to
No,
play
Hassel's
Arcadian doubles.
he's a man of people. He's trying to keep it entertaining.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, how many of these Arcadian doubles players have a win on a top 15 player in the format?
I think I needed to drop it down from 10 to 15 because of the summer rankings.
Yeah, the range gets wider every time I say that,
Well, you
but
know, SPAT's on the come down. We kind of killed him, I think. So.
yeah, it's the hi-fi effect. Someone that hasn't been discussed that I'll throw out there is Mojo 8 whatever.
8675309.
He plays Sheik and Fox and has been talking himself up a lot lately. Recently moved here, I think, from New Jersey. And it's like some weird combination of like wanting to fit in and like establish himself as a relevant player. But it doesn't always come off the greatest. But unfortunately, he has like good enough wins on people in a short period of time that I would not be surprised at all if he kind of busted out at this tournament and did really well and beat people that weren't expecting to lose to him. He also plays Sheik, which is a matchup a lot of people aren't super familiar with. And, he has a Tiger win. He has an Adonis win. So he might not be an actual Icy Slayer, but he has beaten two pretty good Ice Climbers players. So possibly him. And then also Beef Tip. Beef Tip is kind of a big question mark because he hasn't been playing as much lately. But I think he's taking this event kind of seriously. He's going all Falco, which is a good sign. He's been practicing and trying to work on the specific things that have made him lose sets recently, which is, I always think, a really good thing. And another very momentum-based player. And at the Arcadian, that, nerves can lose you sets, basically. If the other person starts heating up off of you being nervous, then that's just that much worse. And I really think he's that kind of player where if he gets a header, he feels comfortable. There's not a lot his opponents can do about that. I think a lot of the one seeds don't want to play Beef Tip for that reason. But again, he's been kind of inactive, so I don't really know.
I feel like he has also shown, like, the past Arcadians, he had pretty good runs. There was some unfortunate ending to the SS Bane set, but like he's shown he can do well in that environment. So.
Yeah. And he got 4th at Arcadian 3, outplacing me and you and Hassel. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Mojo is going to do well at all, but I do think Beef Tip has a good chance at making top 8. I don't really see him winning because, I don't know, it's Beef Tip. He just strikes me like he's going to get to a certain point and he's going to let it loose. Just
like,
he doesn't want to win anymore.
He's gonna whip out the Bowser in winter semis.
Yeah, so I mean, Beef Tip obviously has a very good chance at winning. I don't know if he's gonna keep up the serious act until grand finals.
Oh, is there anyone else, or you guys want to wrap this up?
I mean, I think that's it. Obviously, there are people we didn't talk about, but there's only so much time.
Yeah. And it's also like, it's an Arcadian. Literally anyone in the top 24 seeds and people outside the top 24 seeds can make a run.
There's going to be upsets.
It wouldn't be that.
Yeah, I feel like the winner is among the group of people that we have discussed, but there are people that could make top 8 that are just completely off our radar.
I agree.
So we'll see. It should be good. Saturday, September 22nd, I want to say, whatever this coming Saturday is.
That is
Yeah.
Full Mast from Tennessee will be streaming because Save State wants to compete. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Guess we can wrap it up there.
Sounds good.
This is the Game Show segment, an ongoing battle of wits between Graham and Tyler. Every episode, I create a game for them to play somehow related to Melee. The lifetime score stands at Graham with 2.5 and Tyler with 2.5. So this episode is Tyler's first chance to actually take the lead. Last episode, Tyler defeated Graham in 2 truths and a lie with a very, very long 2 truths and a lie that I think just confused us all.
See, that's how I
you
thought
know,
it was supposed to be played. I thought that's how everyone did it, but whatever.
It's a legitimate tactic. It's a
Yeah,
legitimate
I'm
tactic. It's
using
like
it.
wobbling.
Exactly.
This time, we'll be playing a game about the names of melee moves. So there's actually 2 phases to this. In the first phase, I'm going to tell you the name of a melee move, and you have to tell me, well, of the 4 choices I give you, which move it is.
Okay.
In the second phase, I'm going to tell you a melee move, and then you have to tell me of the 4 choices what it's actually named.
Okay. That sounds like
And this
fun.
is all sourced from that dumb strategy guide where, like, I don't even remember, some character, like,
Am I allowed to
don't
pull
know.
that out from my closet right now?
No, please don't.
bummer.
That strategy guide, though, if any of you still own it, you should go look through it and just like read the character descriptions because it's kind of funny what they say is like good and
Yeah.
not good.
Were you there when we did that recently? And we went through like
Yeah.
their different stats and things like that. It was really
Right?
funny.
Yeah, I think I was.
Okay, so let's start with I think this one's kind of easy. So I want you to tell me which of these 4 moves is Cowboy PK throw. Is it A, back throw, B, down throw, C, up throw, or D, forward throw? Again, the name of the move is Cowboy PK throw.
Wow.
Like, okay, if you guys, this one I think is the most obvious one. So if you can't get this one, we're in
Well,
for
I
a
might
really
be.
rough time.
Oh, I might be in for a rough time.
I'm just freestyling it.
Yeah, pretty much same.
Okay, let's hear those answers. Graham, you're up first.
Is that an up throw?
I said forward throw.
It is up throw. I think the reason why it's called Cowboy PK throw is he kind of moves his hand and the person he's grabbing around like a lasso.
See, that's why I was thinking about F throw because he does the same thing for that, but I guess it makes sense for up throw too.
Oh wait, he does. Oh,
yeah,
I'm so
he definitely
sorry.
like spins them around in forward throws. I thought, yeah, he like spins around very similar to back throw. He goes like
Well,
whoop, and then he goes forward.
Unfortunately,
Like a
the
little
strategy guy disagrees with you and think
That's
his forward
fine.
throw is it's just a PK throw. So,
Oh, wow, okay.
all right. So Graham's up 1-0. Next up, there's an attack called Fire Attack. I want to know if it's A, Falco's up special, B, Roy's forward smash, C, Bowser's neutral B, or D, Game & Watch's forward smash. Again, the name of the attack is Fire Attack, and your choices are A, Falco's up special, B, Roy's forward smash, C, Bowser's neutral B, and D, Game & Watch's forward smash.
I've got mine in.
All right, Graham, what's your guess?
Bowser's neutral B.
I said Game & Watch's F smash.
It is Game & Watch's F smash.
Oh,
Because it
One
seems
thing-
so simple that it works for Game & Watch.
Yeah, all of Game & Watch's moves are just the really simple names that are just the name of the game it came from, basically.
the
All right,
game is
so-
called Fire Attack.
No, the game's just called Fire, actually.
Even better.
All right, so it's tied up at 1-1. So the next move is called Shell Shock. I want to know if it's A, Donkey Kong's up smash, B, Bowser's up smash, C, Mario's down air, or D, Yoshi's forward air. Again, the name of the move is Shell Shock, and the options are A, Donkey Kong's up smash, B, Bowser's up smash, C, Mario's down air, and D, Yoshi's forward air. All right, Graham, what'd you guess?
Bowser's up smash.
Yeah, I feel like this is a bait, but I also said Bowser's up smash.
It is an up smash, but it's not Bowser's. It's
Yeah.
Donkey Kong's.
I figured it was gonna be something
Oh, of
stupid
course.
like that.
What shells? Like, okay, I picked Mario's down air and Yoshi's forward air as fakes because both of them you could kind of have the visual of them like attacking a Koopa,
Sure.
so it kind of makes sense. I have no idea why Donkey Kong's smashing his shell when he just like claps his hands above his head.
Yeah, that's really weird.
All right, so still tied at 1-1. This next one I'm sorry in advance. The name of the move is Luna Slash. Your options are A, Roy's up air, B, Roy's up B, C, Marth's up air, or D, Marth's up B. Again, the name is Luna Slash, and the options are Roy's up air, Roy's up B, Marth's up air, and Marth's up B. All right, Graham.
Marth up air.
I said
Tyler?
Roy's up air.
Use Roy's up air.
Yes.
Did you know that because of Fire Emblem knowledge?
Nope. I do know that
Oh.
Luna is a like a buff. So I felt like it didn't have to do with Marth because I like at first I was like I thought this is a Marth move, but then I figured that Arun was baiting us again. So I had to go with like
That
the
was-
least obvious.
I was trying to bait you with the association with the moon, the player.
Oh,
so
that's interesting.
Oof.
maybe
that's why
I got
thought
you
that.
like maybe
Yeah,
I got
you
Graham
did.
subconsciously.
Yeah, I think you did.
It also kind of makes sense. Like the moon is kind of like more blue than is red, and Marth's very
Mhm.
blue and Roy's very red. So I feel like it's understandable. All right. So Tyler's up 2-1 now. So the next move is called Grinder. Like the dating app but with an E. The options are A, Bowser's down air, B, Bowser's down smash, C, Puff's down throw, and D, Link's rapid jab. Again, the name is called Grinder,
That's
and
so
it's
funny.
one of Bowser's down air, Bowser's down smash, Puff's down throw, and Link's rapid jab. All right, Graham.
I said puff down throw.
I said the same thing.
It is Puff down throw.
I actually
Got no
remember that
comments.
That's
from the
awesome.
strategy guide.
That is awesome. I'm definitely referring to it as that in commentary from now on. He's in the grinder.
It's like, looks nothing like a grinder. It's more like the rolling pin, really.
Do you think it has more, like connotations towards the app in that case? No.
I don't know. My assumption was the Puffin game was a female, but maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, okay. Never know.
All right, so Tyler's still ahead, 3-2. The last one in this part of the game show is Noggin Floggin. So the name of the move is Noggin Floggin. It is one of Yoshi's forward smash, Bowser's forward smash, Pikachu's rapid jab, or Donkey Kong's up air. Again, the name is Noggin Floggin. It's one of Yoshi's F smash, Bowser's F smash, Pikachu's rapid jab, and Donkey Kong's up air. All right, Graham, what'd you guess?
Said Yoshi.
I said Bowser's.
It is Yoshi.
Hmm.
Yes.
I don't know if Bowser's really flogging with his noggin as much as he's like
Well,
guillotining you.
none of these have made any sense, so you can't really bring logic into this anymore.
Okay, I guess that's fair. All right, so you guys are tied at 3-3. So now we're going to the opposite format. I'm going to tell you what move, and then give you 4 options for what the move is actually called, and you have to figure out which one's
Okay.
the name in the previous strategy guide. All right. So first off is one of my personal favorites, Peach's down smash. Is it pirouette, triple spin kick, double-edged gown, or the royal treatment? Again, the move is Peach's down smash, and the names are A, pirouette, B, triple spin kick, C, double-edged gown, and D, the royal treatment. All right, Graham, what was your guess?
Double-edged gown.
I said the same thing.
It is indeed double-edged gown. The royal treatment is her down throw, where she like hits you with her butt, and then pirouette's the
Yes.
up smash.
I knew that I'd heard of royal treatment before, but I thought it was not that move.
I do remember someone at some point in commentary talked about like the Peach down through, and he was like, "Oh, it's the royal treatment."
Yeah,
It's like, what does this mean? What is even the point of saying that? All right, so tied at 4-4 now. Next, we're going to talk about Game & Watch's down aerial. Is it A, Flatman, B, Sparky, C, Key, or D, Donkey Kong Jr.?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Which of this moves was?
This is Game & Watch's down aerial.
Down air.
The options are Flatman, Sparky, Key, and Donkey Kong Jr.
What was the first one again?
Flatman,
Flatman, Key, Donkey Kong Jr. And what was the other one?
Sparky.
I'm sorry.
Sparky, Sparky.
Okay.
Also, okay, the previous one I made up triple spin kick, but these are actually all like real moves.
I know triple spin kick is wrong because that move hits like 15 times.
Yeah, there's no way. it's
No, but
true.
she hits 6 times, and each time she spins around once. So there's 2 hits because each of her legs comes in front of her once in a spin. So it is a triple spin.
Ugh.
Okay. Graham?
I said Donkey Kong Jr.
I also said Donkey Kong Jr.
Yes, it is Donkey Kong Jr. I
That's-
don't know why.
That's weird. Well, I mean, it makes sense because you had to get the keys in that game, but I don't know if Game & Watch was ever in Donkey Kong Jr. He wasn't, so I don't know why this.
Well, I don't know if it's that he was in Donkey Kong Jr. I think there was like a Game & Watch, like the Game & Watch games were like
Yeah.
a series of consoles, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just that one of those console
That
games was the
makes
Donkey Kong
sense.
Jr. game.
I actually wouldn't have picked that until you said something until you told us that all those moves were legit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then
no,
I apologize,
that's
Graham.
fine. No.
Hey, I'm not apologizing to you. I'm apologizing to Graham.
Okay, well, whatever.
Okay, so tied at 5-5. Next up, we're going to talk about Samus's Pummel. I don't know why her Pummel has a name, but it does. Is it A, Metroid Mash, B, Brinstar Beat Up,
No way.
C, Aran Attack, or D, Chozo Chomp?
Okay, that
Again,
is
the-
beautiful.
The options are A, Metroid Mash, B, Brinstar Beat Up, C, Aran Attack, and D, Chozo Chomp. Alright, Graham.
Metroid Mash.
I said Brinstar Bash.
It is actually Chozo Chomp.
Oh no!
I made up the other 3, and
I
I'm now proud
love
of
the Monster Mash reference. That's so good.
Alright, so still tied at 5-5. The next one is Ganon's Nair. Is it A, the P-Hat Spin, B, the Nightmare Kick, C, the Gerudo Punishment, or D, the Swooping Keese? Again, the options are, so the move is Ganon's Nair. The option is A, the P-Hat Spin, B, the Nightmare Kick, C, the Gerudo Punishment, and D, the Swooping Keese. Alright, Graham.
Nightmare Kick.
I said Gerudo Punishment.
It's actually the Swooping Keese.
Oh, that's
God
such a
damn it.
cool name. I love that. I was
Okay.
kind of hoping that was actually what it would be. Cause
I feel like that's not a
so
cool name, because, like,
Yes, it
you
is.
know,
That's
the
awesome.
side- Side note: do we know if these names are the official Sakurai
way.
endorsed
They're
names, or if
definitely
the
not.
strategy guy
No.
did the strategy guy just invent these?
Yes.
so I think starting in Brawl, they actually did give the names, or they at least, no, that's not true.
Well, like, is Ganon's down B like Wizard's Foot or whatever?
It is Wizard's Foot. So the
Oh.
specials all have real names, but
Okay.
the like, neutral, the normals, that's what they're called. The normals
Chozo
don't have
Chomp.
real names as far as I know.
You don't think Sakurai's like, hey, could you change the animation to Chozo Chomp real quick?
No.
Okay.
Alright, so still tied. Also, okay, by the way, I don't think Swooping Keese is a good name, because if you think about, like, Keese in the Zelda games, they're not intimidating at all.
Oh, I hate them.
Neither is Ganon's Nair though.
That's true.
And its Nair is really intimidating. I don't know what you're talking about. It's a Falcon Nair that does, like, 1,000,000 damage per hit.
If Ganon starts doing
It's
Nair
not
to me,
Falcon
I'm gonna
Nair.
start smiling. I'm gonna be so happy.
It started what?
Smiling.
He's just gonna shield grab that
Yeah, I
all day.
love it. Please nair against me.
I don't know. Let's play characters with a million move speed on the ground. Anyway, so this one is Dr. Mario's Nair, but also his F tilt. It's the same name for both of them.
What?
Is it
Cool.
A, the doctor's treatment, B, the reflex test, C, kick MD, or D, Doctor Kick? Again, the options are... This is Dr. Mario's Nair and his F tilt. The options are A, doctor's treatment, B, reflex test, C, kick MD, or D, Doctor Kick. Alright, Graham?
I said Doctor Kick.
I said reflex test.
Is Doctor Kick.
Ah, I was so close to putting that, and I changed it. Did you make up reflex test?
Reflex test is his down smash.
Oh man, that's such a good name.
And
But
then
that
kick-
works better for his F tilt. Because it's like, whoop, it's just out there suddenly.
Also, kick MD, I think, is his Nair.
That's good.
Doctor's treatment, I just totally made up.
Yeah. Oh, no,
Alright, so
Graham's
Graham's
got
up.
me. How many
Graham's
do you
up
have
6-5. There's one more.
Oh, I
This
gotta
is for all the
tie
marbles.
this.
Or I guess really half the marbles, because Graham already has his half point guaranteed.
Uh-oh.
This is Luigi's dash attack.
Ah.
The options are A, fan blade attack, B, fists of fear, C, scaredy cat swipes, or D, cat punch. Again, Luigi's dash attack. The options are A, fan blade attack, B, fists of fear, C, scaredy cat swipes, or D, cat punch. Alright, Graham, what'd you say?
Fists of Fear.
Oh man, that's such a bummer. I wanted to put scaredy cat swipes, but I felt like Graham would put that, and I don't want to tie with them, so I put cat punch.
Well, it was actually fists of fear.
Oh, well, it
so,
doesn't matter either way.
Oh.
Man.
So
Body.
Graham wins this one 7-5. He is now up 3.5 to 2.5 lifetime. So even after I helped out Tyler on that Game & Watch one, it didn't end up mattering. So I don't have to feel bad about that.
I avoided the reverse 3-0. That's all that matters.
That was scary.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Two Floaties, One Wobbler. Thank you everyone for listening. Huge thanks to Hassel, aka Duck, for coming on this episode. As always, I'm Arun, aka Zent, and you can find me on Twitter at Karuganesh.
I'm Graham, aka Hi-Fi, and you can find me on Twitter at HiFiSSBM.
And I'm Tyler, aka Sharks. You can find me on Twitter at Sharks_SSB, on Twitch at Sharks_SSB. And I think that's it for social media. You can find the podcast on Podbean. You can also now find us on iTunes. Just make sure
Yay.
that, yeah, woohoo! Just make sure when you go to the iTunes store, don't go to the music store, go to the podcast store. They are different now than they used to be in the past. And just search Two Floaties, One Wobbler, spaces between each word. It pops right up. And also, of course, on YouTube. I'll have them all linked with the timestamps on our Facebook page. And is there anything else, guys? Anything we want to say before we go?
We're going to Big House, so our next episode,
yes.
probably after that, we'll talk about that. But good luck at the Arcadian, everybody.
Yeah, good luck all.
Yeah.
I'm
Fine.
excited to watch. Yeah, be cool. Keep winning tournaments. Keep putting out these juicy upsets.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Go have a good one.
Yerg.